And now a quick word from our sponsors here at Viral Hip Hop News.
If you are over the age of 35, stop everything you're doing right now. After a lifetime of eating fatty foods, you may run the risks of a stroke or heart attack due to plaque buildup in your veins and arteries. To learn how you can reduce your risks, visit youthfountainlab.com or call 1-800-853-7856 today. This may be a life-changing call for you or someone you love. Thank you, and we hope to hear from you.
Hey, yo, bring the fire all summer long with the Big Three and your homeboy Ice Cube. Starting July 10th on CBS, Thriller, and Fight TV. That's right, every Saturday. Bring the fire with the Big Three, baby. Yay, yay.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely appreciate that. We, as young adults, as men now, we grew up watching Dick Gregory, and we seen the intellectual old man giving knowledge, the crazy old man giving conspiracy theories. But enjoying the documentary, I got to see different layers of Mr. Dick Gregory. And one of those layers was how much of an executionist he was on stage as a comic, how he was one of the first Black comics to walk in an all-white crowd and just wow them and make them laugh with his intellect. And then it was really intriguing how he had the cigarette. He would drop the punchline and pause, and his timing, it reminds me of what I saw in Chappelle now. And it just made me go, okay, this is where Chappelle got it from. Like he's paying homage to Mr. Dick Gregory in doing this. So can you just talk about the brilliance and his dynamic on stage as a comic when he was first introduced to the world?
Absolutely. Great question. So it's not a coincidence that Dave's delivery is that way. Dave Chappelle and Dick Gregory were great friends. My dad knew Dave since he was probably about 15 or 16, and they had a close relationship then because Dave's parents were close with my dad. So Dave always had a great affinity. He always had a ton of respect for Dick Gregory. So for me, it does my heart warm to see Dave delivering like early Dick Gregory delivered. I mean, Dick Gregory was, I want to say in 1968 or so, GQ magazine did a list of the coolest Americans, and Dick Gregory was on that list. I mean, the brother was cool.
Yeah.
Folks, what it really tells us about the aging process and the life cycle. If you only know someone in one aspect of their life, not everyone's going to get a 2-hour film that does as deep of a dive that we did about my dad, but that's everyone's story. Sometimes you hear your grandma or grandparent talking about and you just kind of dismiss it. Then you see the pictures from back then. And you're like, oh, wow. It's like, okay, now I see. We always think we get our fly on our own. And then we look back and say, okay, now I see, before the hips were replaced, before the hair went gray, there was a different person there. And definitively, my dad was always a soldier, and not all soldiers are about violence. You can be a soldier for justice, soldier for love, soldier for peace. My dad was always a soldier, meaning that he was willing to die for the things he believed in. And in the 60s, having that position, you got hurt a lot. I mean, my dad was physically beat on multiple occasions. My dad had false teeth for his whole life because when he was 14, he was a shoe shine boy and he was shining a white woman's shoe and touched her shoe to keep it from sliding. And the white cat next to him kicked his teeth out. So he had the pain, things that we can't, sure, there's still definitively racism now. I mean, there's no question about it. It's omnipresent, but the level of, in 1932, when Dick Gregory was born in St. Louis, if a black cat was walking down the street and a white person approached him, you had to step to the side and look down. And now you could say, oh, hell no, that wouldn't. Those were the cats who were hanging from trees. I mean, it was a very different day. And it's important that we pay homage to those folks and acknowledge the rights that we now have, not just to be comfortable with it, but to dig and do more for those who come after us, because we definitely still have a lot of work to do. I mean, we're far from there, but you don't have to be all work, no play. It's important that yin and yang, you got to balance it out. My pops and I would be on the front lines. We'd be out there yelling and marching and screaming, and then go to the Four Seasons and get a massage. I mean, you had to balance it out, and there's no selling out in that. It's like you got to feed the mind, you got to feed the brain. And so, but at the same time, we wouldn't go to those places and allow them to treat us any different than their other paying customers. So it's been just an incredible ride to watch the movie, because a good portion of what you see in the movie, I wasn't born. I was born in 1970. My dad the entertainer, the megastar. In 1961, Dick Gregory was the largest entertainer in America, not black, period, black or white, the highest earning entertainer in America. You know, that's like Kevin Hart level now, and having that level of success and saying, you know, I'm going to say goodbye to it because y'all aren't treating my people right down south and up north too, and to turn your back on it. And that's really the only reason we're telling the story. You know, there's been other wealthy black men, successful black men and women. We're telling this story because here was someone who was willing to sacrifice and give it all, not risk it, give it, because it wasn't like, oh, this is risky. He knew he was giving it all away to go back and help his fellow brothers and sisters. And we could all learn from that and do more and be inspired by that.
Absolutely.
When are your father?
Hip hop, hip hop, hip hop, hip
Bars is back.
hip hop,
Sam
hip
Ant.
hop,
Oh God.
hop,
What's
hip
up with you?
hop.
I done watched them niggas do interview after interview. They not culture vultures. The culture something they been into. So if you never gave them a view, I recommend you do. Cause when they question guests, they message is not subliminal. It don't matter if you a rook.